Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Nanocast. We're going to wrap up some of the recent news in the nano ecosystem. Today we got Patrick and Wes. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us kind of what your role is in the nano ecosystem?
Hey everyone, I'm Patrick, aka Quasi, and I'm pretty much just a nano enthusiast. I work in IT security, but I follow nano for fun.
Hi, I'm Wesley. I'm a core protocol developer for the Nano Foundation.
Awesome. And by the way, I'm Shawn. I have this podcast. I did a lot of episodes a while ago. So if you're not familiar with who I am, you can, search this sub for the Nanocast and find all kinds of cool stuff that's really outdated, but might be fun to watch anyway. Let's start with what's going on in the community. Patrick, you play a pretty large role in making comments and directing people in the right direction and all the places in Nano. What are some cool things that have happened in the Nano ecosystem over the last month and a half or so?
Man, the nano community is absolutely crazy. They've been pumping out stuff constantly, really cool projects. I think one of the big ones in the last month or so was a project by Mr. Dove on YouTube where he allows you to donate nano, Bitcoin, Litecoin live on stream and feed birds. And obviously, it's a really great showcase for nano where you're paying no fees. And within maybe 5-10 seconds of you sending the payment, you see the birds getting fed. So that's been on for the last maybe a week or so. It actually got picked up by Yahoo Finance, a somewhat mainstream media outlet, which is really cool to see. And like I said, it allows you to donate in multiple cryptocurrencies, but Nano is far and above the most used in this project, partly because the Nano community is promoting it, but also because it's just a natural fit. It's a great place to use your Nano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just seems like there's projects popping up every day. You've got kind of our heavyweight contributors in the Nano community. You think of Jay Coxon and then also Joe Hansen. I feel like they're both always pumping out stuff. One of those projects that Jay Coxon's been heading up, well, obviously Quake, but also the buying airtime, or is it airtime minutes? Is that what it's called? From in Ghana, so people can get minutes for their cell phones. Have you read up on that at all?
Yeah, I saw a few of their Twitter posts. I think it's Ghana Nano if you want to follow them. But they released a live demo of them buying airtime minutes with their smartphones using Nano, which is really cool. And also more recently, I think they're starting to actually set up an office space down there. So that's boots on the ground, real world adoption, exactly where Nano needs to be. So I'm excited to follow that and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and that's an awesome proof of concept because such a large section of the world is developing nations that are looking for easy ways to do things like buy minutes. And of course, there's so many more use cases for Nano, so it'll be cool to see how that develops. I mentioned Joe Hansen as well. He put out a website called nanoticker.info. Did you get a chance to check that out?
So Hansen released nanoticker.info pretty recently, within the last month or two. And I believe it aggregates statistics from all the nodes that are using his Nano node monitor, which I actually use for my free Nano faucet. So it releases, so you could see at a high level statistics like confirmations per second, um, confirmation times, uptime, things like that across the Nano network, which is pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool to see all those statistics all in one place. It's definitely be useful for people like you that have a service running a nano node that you need a nano node for. One of the things that he mentioned in his post that I just wanted to reemphasize here is that if you aren't using any sort of nano node tracking software, you should, and then that'll make that data on the site more complete, and it's just healthy for you watching your node and the network in general. We'll come back to more community stuff in a little bit. Wes, I wanted to ask a little bit about what's going on in the development side of Nano. Before the podcast, we talked about something that I'm not that familiar with, but that you're working on. Currently, Nano's backend uses LMDB, and you're looking into transitioning to RocksDB. So this is kind of database stuff. So I guess the first question is, what is that?
Okay, yeah, so RocksDB is a completely different database infrastructure. The underlying technology is completely different. I won't go into too many details. So with LMDB, you have one file. It's very simple. RocksDB, you have up to hundreds. So it's a bit more difficult to manage. But And the way those files sort of connect is through something called a mem table. So it buffers memory when you're writing to the ledger, and then flushes it out to a file in one go. Whereas with LMDB, what we're finding after I did a lot of profiling is the writes they're blocking other functionality occurring during high transactions per second. So Kamikaze on Discord, he has quite a poor ARM node that he can't use LMDB with. So he's tried our new RocksDB implementation, and he's successfully been able to run that. And not only that, he actually, during a recent spam event on the BetaNet, was actually one of the highest, getting the highest checked blocks per second. So it's looking really promising. It's still in the experimental stage. So we're not releasing it as a, V20, everyone use this. We're still fine tuning it, changing different parameters, going to add more config options. But it's looking quite promising.
Awesome. And this is something that you're looking to release with V20 on the official release?
It will be on the official release. There'll be a TOML config option. We can get into that in a bit, which you can enable the RocksDB backend or not.
Okay, I see. Cool. And just with version 19, there was a ton of, I'm blanking on what they're called, like beta tests. Can someone tell me what I'm thinking
release
of?
Candidates.
Yeah, release candidates. Thank you. On version 19, there were a ton of release candidates. Do you foresee that being the case with version 20 as well?
No, I don't think there'll be as many. There was a lot of low-level structural changes we did in V19, and there was a lot of them. We've tried to limit the scope of V20 quite a bit.
Okay.
So yeah, you're not going to see as many features in V20, but we don't foresee there being many release candidates either. Okay,
cool. So you just touched on TOML, which we looked up before this started. So if anybody's curious, means Tom's obvious. Wait, crap. What does it mean?
Tom's obvious minimal language.
It's not so obvious. It means Tom's obvious minimal language. So, that's what TOML is, in case you're wondering. And you're looking at changing from JSON to TOML. So it looks like this is why. Is this the main reason? So you can enable RocksDB in the backend?
No, it's mainly because we want to enable you to put comments into the file. As boring as that sounds, they're actually really useful for services to say why they're changing a specific value. So JSON's a very good transport mechanism. We use it for our RPC, obviously, but it doesn't make very good config file format. So yeah, we're completely changing that. And by default, you may not see a TOML file because we only by default output it if any of the defaults have changed. So if you've not changed anything, you won't see it. So I'm sure that's going to confuse some people, but it's by design.
Well, I mean, a normal user is not going to get into this stuff anyway, but it sounds like you're saying that the transition to TOML, the biggest reason is just make it easier for service providers to implement Nano. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so they can add comments explaining why. And we can put comments in saying, what this is for. If you look at the config.json file now, it's 40 lines long, and to understand anything, you have to go to our documentation, which isn't always up to date.
Okay. I always love looking at comments in code because some of them are always so, smart ass. So I hope that some funny stuff will appear in there. During Colin's recent interview, he mentioned some high-level POW changes that he's been looking into. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, I've not really worked on it that well. I haven't worked on it at all, but um, it's the idea is we want a memory hard proof of work. This is something Colin's wanted for quite a while, and he's been investigating it for probably a year or so. I don't know if it's going to be in V20 or not, but it's definitely it's definitely getting closer.
Okay.
So yeah, so the idea is we've got very powerful CPUs and graphics processors who can do our encryption algorithms quite quickly. So we're changing it to something where you can only sort of do one of them at a time, unless you've got a vast quantity of memory, which is very expensive. It's also very slow. The latency between RAM and the CPU is quite slow. So yeah, it's just a mechanism to try and deter malicious users, really.
Okay, cool. So kind of plays to security and just another way of securing the network. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, I look forward to learning more about that when the veil is moved, taken away. Coming back to some more of the community stuff going on. Not really necessarily community, but just news in the Nanosphere. We see there's new fiat on ramps that U.S. users can use now. So we've got, well, well, it's not Monaco. What's it called?
Crypto.com now.
Yeah, we were talking about what this used to be before the podcast started. Crypto.com. And then Uphold. I don't know if that's for U.S. customers yet. I think
No, not yet.
like November.
Supposedly. I don't know if they confirmed that, though.
Okay.
I know Uphold was released in EU as another fiat on-ramp, but like Crypto.com, withdrawals are also not yet enabled for Nano. So still looking for that, but it is nice to have another fiat on-ramp. And Crypto.com especially will be nice for the US, being able to go straight from dollars to Nano, assuming they enable withdrawals eventually. I tried it myself. It was a pretty good experience aside from the withdrawals. But again, for anyone watching, remember that if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. So be careful about keeping any crypto on an exchange. Always use a wallet if possible.
Absolutely. So you can buy Nano, but you can't get it off. So if you trust the organization, which you shouldn't, but if you do, if you're like me, you're probably not going to sell your Nano anyway. So, no big deal. But you should get it off the exchange. So, is there a way to transition or to send it to a wallet from crypto.com yet?
No, there's not. Unless you exchange, I think, to a different currency, like maybe their MCO token, and then withdraw that out. But that's not really Nano, obviously.
Yeah. So, we're not really there yet, but we're getting there. And there's hope that this stuff is going to be sorted out. And then, of course, the Binance US, it looks like Nano's got all the things that really need to happen to be on an exchange in the US. So hopefully that's going to be listed on that. Seems like it will be. Let's see. Oh yeah. Also wanted to kind of just more real world adoption. I mean, obviously the Dove guy is, it's real world, but it's kind of a novelty. Let's be honest. But also Capture is a newer service that most of you have probably heard about, and they just keep working towards bringing adoption. And they recently released a video. Patrick, you want to talk about that video at all?
Yeah. So Neil Herron, I believe scratch that. So Neil Herron, I believe he's the CTO over at Capture Labs, recently posted an official kind of promo video showcasing what their solution does. And it's really cool to see that they have like basically an all-inclusive merchant service point of sale device that is built around Nano, really. And it offers all the features that a normal point of sale device is typically used for. And it looks like it'll be a really great addition to the Nano community. There's a lot of hype around that on Twitter. Some people even asking how can they get a hold of this for their own businesses. So I'd be interested to see how that works in the long run.
Okay, so to wrap it up, I wanted to touch on one more community-related thing, and that is there's another Austin meetup. And what do you know the details on that, either of you?
I believe next week is Texas Blockchain Summit at in Austin, Texas, September 14th, if I recall correctly. And it's obviously not just Nano, but it'll be a great place for Colin to talk about Nano a little bit. And then the following week, I think Colin is also going to Austin Startup Week, and we'll be representing Nano there. So both of those will be nice to see some Nano representation.
Cool. And, Patrick's not too far away from there, so maybe he'll be able to make
We'll
one of
see.
them.
We'll see.
And if people want to keep up with Nano news, where can they look?
So obviously the official nanocurrency Medium posts that come out every week are really a great place to go. Gives you a nice summary of some of the big community events, some of the development features and progress being made there. Also on Twitter, they're pretty good about posting nano updates there. And it's also good to follow some of the community members like Neil Herron from Capture Labs, where they're making a lot of progress. There's Gone on Nano on Twitter, where you can follow them and see some of their progress. Trying to think of anything else. The subreddit, obviously a really great resource. Lots of very knowledgeable people there that are always posting interesting stuff and willing to help. That's where I would go.
Yeah, and of course the weekly Nano update, which gets posted on the Reddit. So it's a good place to look. And Wes, if people want to keep up with what's going on in the development side of Nano, where can they look? And you're muted.
Okay. I guess the biggest place is probably the Discord. For the very, very latest stuff at the moment is probably the BetaNet channel. We've got Guillerme doing a lot of free RCs to test a variety of features we're trying to implement. I guess docs.nano.org for any development updates that we make to the documentation. There's not a RocksDB section at the moment. That will be coming shortly. There's probably Tomo and various other things.
Sweet. Cool. So the Discord and docs.nano.org.
Yeah.
And the last question I've got for you guys is what you're most excited about in this coming month for Nano.
So for me, it'll probably be some of the events here in Austin, here in Texas. I'll be interested to see. Hopefully, we can see some of the talks. I don't know if they'll be recorded or not, but it'll be great to see some more Nano representation in the real world. Again, promoting Nano, marketing adoption. That's always a tough problem, but it's good to see that making a little bit of progress there. And interested to see what the community thinks, especially being a university environment. I think for the Texas Blockchain Event Summit, that might be a really great place to give Nano a nice boost. So, see.
Hopefully V20. Fingers crossed there we don't find any problems and we don't have as many RCs as we did last time. But yeah, I think we're getting pretty close. Just got to wrap up a few more things.
All right. And that excites you so you can start working on 21?
Oh, definitely. I know V20 has sort of been marked as, oh, that's the end of Nano development. Everything's done. We're not even close.
Yeah, stop fudding. We're almost done. Just kidding. All right. Well, I think that's good for this time around. I look forward to continuing to do this with Patrick and Wes and whoever else wants to participate. Honestly, whoever wants to be on this is really just a community-driven update on Nano. So if you want to be a part of this, drop us a line and we'll probably let you, unless you're crazy and weird. So, wait, you were going to say something, Patrick?
No, I was just going to laugh.
Unmute for a laugh.
Well, you let me on, so I'm sure you let anyone on.
So until next time, go find somewhere to spend your Nano.